But what ends up happening is that they consume the resources without giving without creating resource. People move to New York City, and then they want to become something else, right? They become part of the problem because you got people moving in without creating more supply, and then you destroy the culture of New York City for one. And we actually have to bring it back to Florida. That's what happens a lot in a lot of, especially our cities, but the small towns surrounding the cities. They become havens of people fleeing New York or California. Take Oviedo in Central Florida, for instance. You have a large portion of New Yorkers living in there, and they want to be still New Yorkers. You see them walking around with Yankee hats and all that, and they still want to be New Yorkers, but they want to be in Florida. And basically, it has pushed out the rural population. Oviedo used to be a fairly rural town, and then basically has become this, the strip mall kind of, all cookie cutter houses, just the same problem that's going around all of Florida. You got basically every major city in Florida is having this problem. But it's easier to see it in small town Florida because it's such a drastic change because of the small population. And if you double the population overnight, those people are coming from somewhere else and basically outmaneuver and outnumber the native population that's there. And so you end up with this cultural shift, that people don't know how to take care of the waterways. They golf courses with water runoff and phosphates and stuff like that. But people don't look at that. They want it, they don't care about rural Florida. They care about, their purely good manicured lawn. And that's what their idea of moving to Florida is, not taking care of the waterways, not taking care of, being a good steward of the land, so to speak. I can't believe how, far I've come on stuff like that. But so you basically have that influx of population. I think I stated this in a previous video. 300,000 people a year have moved to Florida from other states alone since 2020. 300,000 a year. That's like that's the city of Orlando proper. That's roughly about the population. About that much has moved to Florida every year since 2020, since the lockdowns in 2020 with COVID. So we've had major changes. The infrastructure can't keep up. It can't be built enough. You're going to tear down more of the land. Ironically, I finished A Land to Remember this week, which was probably the worst time to do it because it kind of puts you in that mental state. Which I highly recommend. It's a good read, but especially if you're going to move to Florida, or if you're Floridian and you want to know more about your culture, even though it's a fictional book, it kind of reflects the movement of from the Florida cracker through the last 150 years and how that kind of changed. But anyways, I digress on that. It's basically that's the problem that Florida has had forever. We have major land booms, and then we have major land busts. The people who are here, the young people who are growing up, who want to stay in Florida, basically because of the standard of living and the capital asset that they have, that other states have, like California, like New York, because it's so expensive to live there. That's why that's why their salaries are so high. Basically, because you can save a little bit. If you can save more, even though it doesn't seem like a lot in California, you move to Florida and you can outbid pretty much any native Floridian. That happens a lot when you have mass capital inflows into a particular area, because you can basically outmaneuver and outbid the local population. That's happened here in Orlando for the last 70 years, right? Since Disney. You have timeshares and stuff like that, but that's